And we're live. Thanks everybody for joining us here for the Android Experience podcast. This is a show where we keep you posted on what's new in the world of Google and Android and share our experiences with the platform. This is episode number 5 on June 16th, 2015. I'm your host, Patrick Vergadamo, and I'm joined by my co-host, Todd Wright. We also have a special guest who shares our interest with us in the Android platform, and our guest for today's show, Bill Stebbins. What's up, Bill?
What's up, man? Glad to be back on the internets.
Good to see you, Bill.
Yep, you too.
So how you doing, Todd?
Not too bad, not too bad.
It's almost like deja vu from last night.
I know, it just about is.
And for those that don't know, Todd and I are also on the Tech Talk podcast over on the Tech Side Network, and so we recorded last night for it. But so basically tonight, what I figured we could talk about, because I know Bill, you're using my person I go to for Android stuff, and we've had the big granddaddy of them all a couple weeks ago. We had Google I/O 2015, so I figured we'd kind of focus most of the show on that and just kind of talk about what we got, what we didn't, what we liked, what we didn't, and just kind of what we were hoping to see come out of what we were given at Google I/O. Kind of figured before we kind of start with some biggish kind of app update things that before we kind of get into Google I/O. One of the first things is Google has kind of brought us 60 frames per second live streaming and HTML5 playback for YouTube. To me, I think that's a big step forward for them. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's great. The 60 frames per second recording will be really good for the live broadcasters.
Yeah, and it's interesting that came out, the timing of that, because that was right before E3. Of course, we didn't know at the time, but Google is actually doing some what's it called? YouTube gaming something. It's a Twitch competitor, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so the interesting thing was that kind of came, 60 frames per second is kind of important when you're gaming, and so to be able to live stream that at 60 frames per second is going to be kind of cool. So seems like the timing of that was not
perfect.
Just a coincidence.
And I agree, and I think that's a big thing, and I think it's also good for people who want to stream gaming and things of that sort. The more option you have, the more it makes each of those competitors bring their game.
Yep.
And so it'll be good for all of us. Another update we had was Maps, Google Maps. Basically, their update is supposed to bring better traffic alerts, closed notifications, and alternate routes. I'm not sure about you guys, but I use Maps all the time to try to make sure I get to work on time.
I am so enslaved to Google Now notifications for traffic and stuff like that, especially when I'm going to work or anywhere. So I don't know about you guys, but anytime I have any kind of appointment, I put it on my calendar, and I always put an address now because it'll tell me what time to leave, and then I can kind of shoo my wife and kids out the door early because we're always running behind anyway. But one of the things they recently added was the close notification, and I keep thinking about Vacation, the movie Vacation. Clark Griswold is dragging his family to Wally World, and if only he'd have had this feature in Google Maps, he would have known that Wally World was closed when they got there.
Hours closed now.
Exactly. Or we'll be closed when you get there, Clark. Sorry.
Yeah, I pretty much have a standard route that I go to work in the morning. I think traffic's usually not too bad, but there's a lot of times when I use Maps to get somewhere else, like if I'm going to go out and meet with some friends or whatever, and it's on the other side of town, and Memphis is bad for all of their construction and stuff on the interstate. The 240/40 loop, it's a nightmare. So that's always a good plus there to have that traffic notification.
Yeah, one of the ways I usually use it is when I'm leaving work. I'll sit there and go, okay, do I want to go to the movies? What time are the movie times? And then I'll look at traffic and see how long it'll take me to get there. If it's going to be too late to get to the earlier showings and they're not going to have a showing of it until 3-4 hours later, then I just decide to do different plans because I mean, it's really good for that kind of things before you buy tickets to know that you're getting the right things, and that you can actually make it to the things on time before you get started, so you don't end up like Clark Griswold and end up there too late. So our next thing is kind of another update for Chrome, where they basically have brought touch to search and some quicker checkouts. And you guys get a chance to kind of check out these updates yet?
Yeah, I was playing with the touch to search. That's been in Chrome beta for Android for a little bit, and essentially it's not the Google on tap, which we'll talk about in a bit. It's basically you just can highlight a word and it'll give you a thing to swipe up at the bottom, and it'll either define the word or give you some additional context. So if you highlight somebody's name, you can get more information and stuff like that. It's not nearly as smart as Google Now on tap, but it's kind of cool. And then I haven't really messed too much with the quicker checkout stuff because I don't typically buy things in Chrome on my phone.
Sure.
Yeah, I haven't really used either one of these either.
I like the touch stuff, and like you said, Bill, of course, you figure Google, anything they can do to give you more options to search for stuff, and it's kind of like Wikipedia. It can be dangerous if you start clicking on things and you start following down the rabbit hole. A couple hours later, you realize, now what the hell was I doing? And so, I think it could be a good thing, so that for extra stuff when you're giving options and touch, using the fact that you're using your finger most of the time on an Android device, or as most people are starting to do with touchscreen computers and things of that sort, unless you're on a Mac. So I think anything that kind of incorporates your ability to kind of interact with the searches you're doing is going to be a good thing. So our last app thing, and this is something I think all of us have used it, Inbox by Gmail. It's kind of like when we joke about Gmail back in the day, where did you get your invite? You don't need an invite anymore. It's now open to everybody, which is a good thing. I actually find I use it more than the original Gmail, just because it kind of prioritizes for me based on what I usually look at.
Yeah, I haven't really been using it much lately, but hopefully I'm gonna try to give it another run or another go here pretty soon. So.
Yeah, I've used it exclusively since it launched, and at first I was like, oh, this is too dumbed down, but once I got used to snoozing and marking things done, and I found it really, really helpful for me because I get a lot of things that go into the promo folder, and I can just get to those whenever I have notifications turned off on that. So I just go and look at that when I have some time. I'm not bothered at work or whatever. But the snooze feature is really helpful for me because when I need to follow up on something, I can snooze things to home or a specific time or whatever, and then it's gone because I'm kind of OCD about keeping my inbox clean, and that's really the only way I can do that is to, either delay something or mark it as done.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, same thing with me on the promo folders. I'll look at it if I have some free time, but this way I don't have it blowing up my phone because I'm getting like 200 emails in a couple of day period of promos. Well, I guess with that out of the way, we can move to what was the big thing, the big event, Google I/O 2015. We had it, was it the 28th and 29th or 29th and 30th? I forget. I don't know. It seems like yesterday, but yesterday I've slept since then. Yeah. But I think probably the biggest thing we get from that is we get our first taste of Android M. I guess you guys, do any guesses on what the final name might be on this thing?
No, it's going to be something awkward. Mars Bar or something.
Depends on if they decide to work with a candy company again.
Yeah.
I think they'll go with milkshake. I don't know, for some reason that just kind of...
Your milkshake brings all the boys to the yard?
That's right.
Birds to the yard.
Call it the Milky Way.
You could do that.
I mean, it'll be interesting. It's always fun to kind of guess what the names will be. Of course, they kind of threw us all for a loop with KitKat because no one thought they would actually use a copyrighted name by negotiating something of that sort. I don't know about you guys, but what I've seen, I'm ready for it. Of course, I'm kind of always ready for new Android
Yeah.
Go ahead, Todd.
No, I was gonna say I've actually got it loaded on my Nexus 6, and I'm really liking it. I don't have a lot of apps, so I think Bill had said something about you were using it and had some app compatibility issues.
Yeah, apparently they Googled something they broke in one of the library files or something, caused some of the apps not to work. And like Fitbit wouldn't allow me to sync my device, and so it's supposed to be fixed to the next release, which is something new they're doing this time. They're doing over-the-air updates for the beta, the developer preview, so you won't have to go and reflash every time. You'll just get an over-the-air update. But I didn't want to wait until I think it's the end of the month, and so I just decided to go ahead and I was having some issues with some hardware issues with my phone, and so Google swapped it out. So I just left it on L for now.
Yeah, I mean, of course, my thing is I figure I'm going to have to finally buy a Nexus because there's no way I'll luck out and get an upgrade on this Note 3. But part of me just wants to hold on because the Nexus 6 was okay, but I'm kind of hoping they'll step their game back up for the next Nexus.
I gotta say, man, I've been on this Nexus since late October, early November, so that's like 7 months for me, and I haven't had any other devices, so that's a pretty good nod to the Nexus 6 in particular, and I think most of that has to do with the camera. The camera was so much better, and one of the things in the M preview, they really worked on the camera app. And if you use the HDR function in M, which they rolled that app out to everybody, but HDR is like super quick now, whereas before it would be like a 5 or 6 second pause. Now it's about a second maybe, depending on the lighting. So that was a huge change.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things I'm looking forward to with the updates that kind of we got from Google I/O about Android M is the change in app permissions. I mean, I know, Bill, you're the kind that's you've always said you look at every single thing when you get an update to see why is it asking for an update or for this permission. I like the fact they're going to give us more ability to go, nope, you can't have this. We still want you, but we're going to tell you what we want you to have access to.
Well, and I think the reason that that's important is because not just because you have more granular control, but because apps that are developed within the M developer SDK will actually gracefully handle that. Whereas before, when they had app ops or whatever it was called, it was kind of janky, and if you turned off certain permissions, the apps would just crash. Yeah. So like if you didn't want Facebook to have your location or access to your text messages, you could turn that off, but there was no guarantee the app was even going to continue to work. Whereas in M, all that's handled by the OS, and the app should still continue to function just without that functionality.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's one feature I'm really looking forward to be able to, get down to the nitty gritty and tell the apps what they can and cannot have access to.
Yeah, and I think one of the problems I always had is you see some apps you can tell whether they were developed well or not, because some of them would just ask for everything, and you realize it's because they couldn't figure out what they couldn't do without. And so to kind of take a step back and have the OS kind of deal with some of it, it should make it easier on the developers too to be able to kind of have a better feel for what they really need access to versus just throwing everything at the wall because you don't want to risk your app not working because you decide not to take access some permission.
Yeah.
And something else that was really, really kind of glossed over, the people didn't pay much attention, but Google has finally implemented in M an actual backup, a cloud backup of all your apps, similar to what iOS has been doing, where when you wipe your device or whatever, or if you uninstall and reinstall an app, you'll actually get the data and everything along with it. So in L, they were doing something kind of cool, which it would restore all of your apps and like your home screen and all the layout and stuff like that, and that works really well. But now it'll actually have the data as well, which is going to be really, really cool. And I got to play around with some of that, and it seems to work very well so far.
I'm definitely looking forward to when they finally pull the trigger on that. I guess the next big thing, and the thing it seems that it's kind of become a big deal with Google and for Android, is to continue to make battery life better. And one of the big things is doze mode. Kind of, what are your guys' thoughts about some of this battery life improvements they kind of came out with?
I think it's great. I mean, doze mode, I've been testing it on this Nexus 6. And like right now, I'm using GSAM Battery Monitor Pro. Average per complete charge on my Nexus 6 is 3 days and 0 hours, with a 15 hours, 20 minutes active. It's showing me right now that I've only used 12% of the battery in 14 hours and 16 minutes.
Yeah, and for me, I was running it on my Nexus 9 also, which, the tablets are kind of, you set them around and use them whenever, but you had to watch because the battery would just go flat. Well, with Doze on M, it would still be at 99 or 98% after a whole day of just sitting around, because it's not actually keeping everything up to date, because it can tell when I'm using it when I'm not. So that's going to be a really big user experience change, I think.
I think so too. I think one of the problems we always had with older versions of Android, you'd always tend to have sleep-wake issues, and so I think this will help with a lot of that. So that, and I was like you were saying, Bill, you'd set your device down, go pick it up a few hours later or later in the day, and boom, the percentage had dropped way down, which is bad because then you'd end up leaving it plugged in, which isn't good for the battery life in the long term. And so.
Yeah. And it was annoying because I was always like, well, what app is that causing that? And then I'd go look, and you never could really figure it out. It was always something random. Android OS. That doesn't tell you anything. So you'd be like, damn it. So I used to put mine in airplane mode if I wasn't going to use it for a while. And with Doze, that's not really an issue anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think until they start using the new battery technologies that are coming out, it's important to get as much battery life you can out of your device, especially like tablets, because like you said, you sit it down, you leave it there, it's not something you're always using and consistently charging. You expect it to be working when you pick it up.
Yeah,
and to have enough charge.
I haven't found, with the advent of Quick Charge 2.0, my battery life OCD has kind of gone away to a certain extent, because I know I can plug in and 30 minutes later be almost topped off for the day and not worry about it. But having the Doze in a combination with that's going to be great.
Especially like the 9, since they decided not to give us the rapid charge on that stuff.
Yep.
So kind of the next big thing is, and you had kind of alluded to it, Bill, Google Now on tap. And I guess I'll let you start with that because I know you are a big Google Now person.
Yeah, Google Now on tap is kind of contextually aware Google Now. So if you are in an app or if you're watching a video, you can actually interact with Google Now, and it already knows the context. So the one they showed at Google I/O was they were watching a video from Skrillex, and the person asked, how old is he? Well, Google Now already knew that they were watching a Skrillex video, so they knew that he was Skrillex. And I'll be honest, I don't really even know much about Skrillex, but I guess I'm getting old. But so that kind of stuff is awesome. In the M preview, it's not active yet, but you can you're going to be able to hold the home button, and it'll give you all this stuff about what you're looking at, and it's going to really change the way we use Google Now, which is already kind of ingrained in my process. I'm always using Google Now for something, and I talk to my watch and my phone more than I do my wife.
So what about you, Todd?
Yeah, I think it'll be a great feature. It's not very active right now on the in beta, so haven't had a chance to really use it. But uh, yeah, Google Now is really good for its predictive cards, and this will just make that so much better. It'll also, like you said, allow for some natural language search. So like if you're in that video, it knows that you're looking at a Skrillex video, so that it knows who Skrillex is. So it'll make natural language searches a lot better.
And to me, I like it because it's one more step closer to getting Jarvis, which is what I want. I want my device to be able to interact on that level.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I guess the ultimate test is being in Google Maps, just saying, where the hell am I? And see what it does. So, I mean, I think it'll be interesting. Google Now, the integration they put into it is so great because it really does interact with maps, your calendar, your scheduling, your alarms, all of those things. So, I mean, I think it'll be great. Of course, the ultimate test I always thought was if your device realizes it's out of power overnight, it should have something that automatically sets an alarm for you. So it thinks you may have had a power outage. That would be the ultimate test for me.
That'd be cool.
So I guess the next big thing, huge, and the fact that it also is cross-platform because it's not just Android. It kind of is a big game changer for iOS too. Is Google Photos and the fact that they're giving us unlimited storage and the ability to search those photos. I mean,
it's great. That's what I'm using. I'm using it for for my main photo storage now. I've even got Google Photos on my iPhone so that I can have it backed up there. And like you said, the good thing about it is it's cross-platform. I can't install Apple's Photos app on my Android devices to back that up. So it kind of puts them out in front a little bit as far as that goes.
I'll say my perfect use case, I'll take a picture with my phone, wait for a few minutes till it syncs, and then I can get on my iPad while I'm messing around with stuff, access the photo from the Photos app, and post it on Facebook or whatever else without having to do the whole sharing the thing, go to Dropbox, and do all those other things. It's there.
Another cool thing is I've got the uploader for OS 10, so I can just, if I see a photo online and I want to save it, I just drop it. I've got a folder on my desktop, and I just drop it in that, drag it from my web browser into that folder, and it instantly backs it up.
Yeah. So what about you, Bill?
My favorite part of the new Google Photos isn't the unlimited storage because I was already paying for a terabyte of online. My favorite part is actually the search. And for somebody that has kids or dogs or friends, whatever, the search is so amazing in that now I have at my fingertips faces that I can search for, keywords. I found some pictures that I didn't even know I had of my kids or like my niece or somebody, and it's just amazing that that they can recognize stuff. I went down a rabbit hole the other day in there. I was looking around, and my dad is on there, and as you guys know, he passed away last year. So I was like, well, let me see what pictures I have, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize I had this. I didn't realize I had this. And so I'm going through all these pictures and finding stuff that I had no idea was anywhere backed up online. And within a matter of like 30 seconds, I had all these pictures, and I was sharing them with my mom and my sister, and it was really amazing for me.
Yeah, I'm about to say a couple boxes of Kleenex later. I mean, it's a great thing because, like you said, it's almost like you can find things you didn't even realize you had, because before too many pictures, you're not going to go through. You don't usually have time to go through all those pictures, but to be able to find them quickly.
Yeah, some of the stuff that I'm sorry. No. Some of the stuff that it recognizes is just amazing to me. I mean, like it's got sharks and other stuff. And I was like, well, let me see what kind of sharks it has. And it's got one of my kid dressed as a shark for Halloween one year. That's crazy.
So what were you gonna say, Todd?
That's what I'm saying. It looks like the recognition is even getting better because there for a while it was identifying my parents' little terrier as a cat. And, so poor Scruffy, you know. But now it looks like that they've got him listed in under dogs properly. So.
Well, and it's fantastic that, you know, in the Apple photo library stuff, you had to go in and say, is this so-and-so? Yes. Is this so-and-so? Yes. So you had to do all this training, and now you don't have to worry about any of that. Nobody's got time for that.
Yeah. So congratulations, Scruffy. You're now officially a dog again.
And I mean, again, we can't really emphasize enough the fact that it works on both Android and iOS is great, especially if you have a shared account for your family or something. If you're using like a Gmail account as a shared account for things, now you can set it up and take pictures and share it all for scrapbooking and things like that, for family reunions, things of that sort.
Yep.
Well, one of the next ones, which I didn't get a chance to really look a lot into it, but Project Brillo. I figured you've probably looked at a little bit at this, huh, Bill?
Actually, I'm trying to. I know it was something with the way that Android handles like garbage collection or whatever.
No, this is the one for like the connected house, like
that's right,
with Nest, and I figured you would be a Nest person and things of this sort. I know you always liked the idea of the connected house.
Yeah, I remember now. This was the Internet of Things pared down version of Android that'll run on embedded devices.
Right.
So that's kind of exciting. You know, I am a Nest user and I love having Nest, but then I've got some Foscam video cameras, and I've got a separate connected alarm system at my house, and you know, there's all these different things, and I really want to consolidate it all, but so far there's not been a good solution to consolidate it, and so hopefully Brillo will bring that together and allow it all to work on one app instead of the 5 or 6 that I have on my phone today. You know, like I've got my garage door opener, which is connected, my alarm, my cameras, and then my thermostat. All that stuff needs to be in one place. So hopefully someone will finally get that stuff together in the next year or two and make things easier on me.
Nice.
Yep.
I mean, I like the idea. Anything, especially with Android being an open source type thing, anything that can kind of make it easier to interact with other household things instead of having all these different apps for different standards and things of that sort. If they can kind of work within that, it's going to be a breeze to kind of have more of a connected house for your lights, your thermostat, and things of that sort.
Yep.
And it's also, I believe, some of this, from what I was reading, can also be cross-platform as well, since it integrates Google Play services. So, you know, it'll be built into Android, and they said it was easily available to iOS as well. So
that's a big kind of, I think, Trojan horse that Google's kind of trotting out, is all this, hey, we work on whatever, we don't care.
Right.
And meanwhile, Apple's like, oh, don't come in our walled garden. And I think that's going to come back to bite Apple eventually when people start to see some of this cool stuff and, you know, hey, free photo storage, and, you know, do you want iCloud with 5 gigabytes that's full in your first week of using your phone?
You can't even back it up.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to back up that that 64 gig phone? Sorry, you don't have enough space.
Yeah. I think the experiences of a lot of the new stuff in for iOS 9 will kill it, because, you know, they're using all this privacy talk to pretty much do all the processing for all their predictive stuff in on the device itself, and I just don't think that'll end up being a good experience.
Yeah, the Apple stuff, them and their privacy talk, the more they talk, they're talking in circles because they can't do the stuff they want to do without, infringing on your privacy, so to speak. And the more that they talk about how evil Google is because they want all your data and blah blah blah. Well, Apple's moving the same direction. You can't do this stuff without some level of trust, and if you're not gonna share that stuff, you're not gonna be able to do cool things like Google Now on tap. And so it's a slippery slope they're going down, I think.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out anyway.
I agree. Well, the other kind of project that they announced was Project Loon, which it's kind of hot air in a good way. This is one where they came up with this idea, and it's kind of ingenious to basically use balloons to kind of float them over areas like where there's disasters and things of that sort, and where the infrastructure is down, to basically project out internet so that people with their mobile devices and things of that sort can still get some connectivity after a disaster, so that it also alleviates some of the actual infrastructure where a lot of people can't get text in, or people are crashing emergency systems because they're all trying to get on their phone and tell everybody that they're still alive. And so, I mean, it's kind of an interesting concept. I don't know how well it'll work in reality. I mean, it's kind of like WiMAX was originally envisioned to be this idea to get internet out to the boonies, but it never went anywhere. And then Sprint really made it a 4-letter word.
Sprint couldn't even get it to the suburbs.
Yeah. I think it's working pretty well. I mean, I've heard some reports of some testing in Australia, and it's working pretty well there. The interesting thing about Project Loon will be, and I've not heard a lot of people talk about it, will be them fitting it into Google Fi. Because once they have this, balloons everywhere, that to them that'll be the same thing as a cell phone tower.
Mm-hmm.
Because Google Fi will allow you to switch between Wi-Fi and the different carriers. So the next iteration of Google Fi might switch between your carriers or Wi-Fi or Loon. So this could be a big. I think this might be bigger than what a lot of people think.
I mean, it has great potential.
Yes.
I just hope that there's not any, Apple's aircraft up there trying to shoot the balloons down.
No, that's for the Russians.
To do it, they wouldn't get the directions right anyways.
Oh.
Their maps would probably lead them to get a submarine.
No kidding.
Well, we kind of talked about maps, and one of the other things that they've kind of pushed as a new big thing is offline maps as a way to kind of download your maps, which can be helpful, especially if you're out in the boonies and you have bad cell reception, but you need to still get to where you're going. Because, I mean, I think most people have kind of ditched their GPS units and moved to using Google Maps and things of that sort because they stay up to date. And so anything you can do, or loading it on your tablet so that essentially you have a true digital map on a bigger screen. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but to me, the offline map thing is really an intriguing concept for me.
I think it's good. I mean, a lot of my Android devices are on T-Mobile, and when I drive from Memphis to Bristol, I have less than acceptable cell reception. So this might be a good way for me, if I wanted to stay with them, to do my maps.
And I mean, to me, this makes your tablet more functional, especially if you can upload stuff. Especially where we saw that kind of trend where people were starting to take tablets and mounting them into their dashes. Yeah. This would be a great way to have one, even if you don't have your hotspot set up and everything. You just upload your map while you're at your house in your driveway with your Wi-Fi, and then you're good. I mean, you may not have traffic updates, but you have a map route. If nothing else, it's a fallback if your phone dies in the middle of the trip.
Because Lord knows that this Ford Sync that's in my my Focus, the GPS on that is pretty abysmal. Matter of fact, I even got a letter from Ford the other day saying, "Oh, we've got some really cool new maps. This will really make your GPS. All you need to do is just send us, X amount of money." And it wasn't a small amount. It was like $70, or I don't remember exactly, but it was
probably required you to go to the dealer.
No, it didn't require me to go to the dealer, but I had to, you had to pay pretty good price just to get updated maps for
That
your
actually
car.
work?
Yeah, that actually worked.
Maybe.
I have 3 cars with GPS built in. I use it in 0 of them.
Exactly.
Every time I've tried to use it, it's a horrible experience.
Mhm.
And I would much rather just depend on my phone, which I know is up to date. I mean, up to the minute, even with the traffic. So, Android Auto is going to kind of hopefully move that along to the connected experience
Yeah, I
versus.
hope so. I hope so. Because I mean, the maps in sync are so bad. I would just soon use Apple Maps.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is.
Maybe it is.
Well, it's Microsoft, so.
Oh, that's true.
Even worse. So I guess the next big thing, we saw some updates, but I don't know about you guys, but to me I was expecting more from the Android Wear updates. I mean, we got stuff, but I guess maybe I should be happy with what we got. I mean, what were your guys' thoughts on the Android Wear updates that we got?
I mean, the Wi-Fi sync stuff is cool. I'm looking forward to using it whenever the 360 gets its update. A couple of the wrist scrolling and all that stuff is going to be neat. But it's not rolled out yet for me. So, and on either of my devices, I've got this is not an Apple Watch. This is a Gear Live, and then I ended up buying my wife a Moto 360 for Mother's Day, one of the smaller band ones.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's silver, and she loves it. She was using this Gear Live before, which isn't the most effeminate thing. And,
You mean the one that took up her whole wrist?
yeah, well, and the charging dock thing is kind of wonky on it. That Moto 360 is the way to go if you're going to get one, especially at $150. That's the experience that you want. But
Yeah, I just wish it was more consistent on the devices, because I do have 2 Android Wear devices. I've got a Moto 360, which is probably my preferred one. Of course, it doesn't have the update yet. The other one that I have is a G-Watch R, which does have the update, but unfortunately does not have the Wi-Fi. So 2 strikes so far,
And you're out.
Yeah.
I mean, I love my 360. I was so happy when I finally got it back. I mean, that was one of the things. I complained for a long time because their website sucked. Well, I finally got on there with Motorola's customer service, and they took care of everything. I paid for nothing, got it sent to them. They replaced it. I even got an extra charger out of it. So I mean, I love my 360.
I'm really interested to see what their next iteration of that device looks like.
Although I think the one that I'm kind of interested in, but I'm always leery because it's Samsung. I like their idea of the rotating bezel.
All right.
To me, that was the thing I like. Not that it would be your primary thing, but there's things you could factor in as a functionality with that I think would be very helpful. Because there's times where you don't want to, especially if your hands are like, you've been doing stuff like cooking or something, you got stuff on your hands, you can kind of rotate a big bezel without touching all over your screen.
Yeah, or you could just kind of do the wrist scrolling, or you just that'll be
not with the Samsung because it's not Android Wear.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and so that's my thing is what I'm really looking forward to is whatever we get as the next generation of the 360.
Yeah, that'll be the one.
Yeah, I'll be buying it.
Because I mean, the rumors so far have been that we'll get a true whole circular screen this time, which will be nice too for the watch faces.
Yeah.
So I guess the next big kind of like, well, I wouldn't say big, but because I don't know how much we'll use it, but so much for Google Wallet, we now have Android Pay. I'm sure someone got fired for coming up with that name after Apple Pay, but I mean, Android Pay and fingerprint support, which is something that was there, but then they brought it back, from what I understand, because we had it. What was the Atrix?
Yeah, I think that was Motorola's hacked-in support for it, though it wasn't a native part of Android.
It was, right?
Yeah.
Which will be nice because the S6 has probably got the fingerprint scanner on it's as good as the one on the iPhone 6. So.
Well, that's good to hear because the one I tried on the Note 4, where you had to swipe your thumb or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Terrible.
This is much improved. You just put your finger on it and bam.
Oh, good. Yeah, I turned that. I was like, I can use LastPass with that. Awesome. Tried it once, couldn't get logged in. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, and the way it works now is kind of a Samsung implementation, but now that they're going to build that into Android, it should be a lot better.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I can see the functionality with stuff like Android Pay too. So you don't have to punch in a PIN if you have good fingerprint support. It's a way, if you feel comfortable with on your device, to do it. I still think ultimately, for whether they call it wallet, Android Pay, whatever, I think Google has to keep away for, especially in the rural areas where they don't have the terminals for all this stuff. I would have loved to seen them buy up somebody like Coin, who didn't end up doing worth the crap so far. I mean, I think they said my thing will finally ship in September. I still have my Google Wallet card, which I don't know if that still works now since they switched to Android Pay. But it would be nice, especially with something like Project Brillo, where you could have just basic functionality stuff on a chip, on a card, and have where your phone has to be in proximity to it, and you can set up all your things. You have a little tiny Bluetooth thing where you're sitting there scrolling to which card you want to use that's loaded on it, and it doesn't matter if they have a terminal or not. You can use a true card in those situations, but it has all your information without actually being the cards.
Well, I mean, Samsung and Google has an agreement for IP, for patents and such, and I don't know if it'll ever make its way to Android, but Samsung just bought, I can't remember the name of the company, but so basically when Samsung Pay or Samsung Wallet or whatever they're going to call it, when it comes out, you'll be able to just pop the phone down onto the magnetic stripe reader, and it should trigger the transfer. You won't even need NFC at that point. So maybe they'll end up bringing something like that into Android.
Of course, that's expecting that this area even has it. I mean, I've seen some places where you're lucky it can actually swipe your card.
Right.
So, I mean, anything that would be and then you have some places where the terminal for swiping, you actually have to hand them the card, because the way that their systems are set up, especially some of these ones now where it looks kind of like an iPad permanently mounted, some of those don't swivel enough for the customer to actually swipe. So you have situations where I don't know if I'd want to hand someone my phone. I mean, it's bad enough handing them my card. I don't know if I'd want to hand them my phone to pay.
Right.
But I mean, it'll be interesting. Another kind of blast from the past thing they kind of brought us was some updates to Google Cardboard, which reading over this stuff again reminded me, Bill, I'm supposed to still send you that cardboard that I picked up. But one of the interesting things kind of shows, we always talk about how Google is willing to work in other playgrounds. I mean, they now support the iPhone for Google Cardboard. So to me, I mean, that was pretty huge. I mean, you don't see Apple stepping out, except for their Apple Music, into another playground.
It's very true.
I actually ordered one of the new Google Cardboard 2.0 from unofficialcardboard.com, and hopefully it'll be coming in pretty soon.
Cool.
Yeah, we've got a lot of the guys at the Mid-South Makers where I like to hang out at and build stuff, so they're all excited about VR. They even, one friend had the Google Cardboard there and was outputting the video onto a Chromecast for a projector. So while he was there doing his little, VR stuff, we could actually, of course, it was split in two. We could actually see it on the wall, so it was kind of cool.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I guess the other kind of thing we got, which is, it seems to be the thing du jour now, who is getting HBO Now next? I mean, we all got, I'm sure any of us that have Xboxes got the nice update. We now support HBO Now, which, I mean, as a person who, even though I have cable, fully supports the cable cutters, it's always good when you get the support. To me, the big thing for this is we even though and this kind of is in my section with things I was kind of upset we didn't get. Anything that gives more media consumption through Android, I think is a great thing. And so the HBO Now, I think is great, especially for people who don't have cable, don't want to pay for HBO just to get HBO Go. The ability to be supported to just get HBO Now is great.
So what device? What was the announcement as far as what devices are getting it when? Do you know when it's coming to the Android TV?
That was the one. I don't know that they really gave us any specificity on Android TV, which is kind of one of the things I was talking about. They didn't really give us. So to me, I think probably initially it's going to be more tablets and phones, just because licensing they're always hesitant to do anything that's strictly on the TV. But you figure it'll have Chromecast support, because I mean HBO already has Chromecast support for the regular HBO app.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, I think Android TV getting it is probably a no-brainer. It'll happen. But I think that kind of leads into the thing I was disappointed is that we didn't really get any Android TV updates. They came out with a device and they haven't really talked about it since. It's kind of doing exactly what happened with Google TV. Oh, here's a nice new device. Buy it. And you never hear anything else.
Yeah, I'm a little bit jaded, I think, after my second or third Google TV device. I was just like, I'm not buying into Android TV, especially with the Chromecast being, $30 or $25 or whatever. I don't see a distinct advantage to the Android TV right now, so I'm just going to kind of sit back and watch what they do with it and see if it goes out to pasture or if they actually nurture it.
I would like to be able to do it. I mean, I am a Google Now, HBO Now subscriber. So I would love to be able to just pull the cord once and for all on my Apple TV. I really don't like that thing, and the only time I use it now is for watching Game of Thrones. So if I could get that, if that would go to Android TV, I would really be tempted to buy like one of the new NVIDIA Shield players. So
I was pulling up the thing real quick to see what it says. It's supposed to be coming this summer, and yes, it will support Chromecast. Let's see. It will full support for Google Cast and Chrome and the Chromecast. And they don't say for sure what device. I'm guessing it's going to be on Android, so if it should work on all your devices then, in theory.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So I guess we kind of talked about what we got, and I figured kind of talk about what we didn't get, because I know some of us I know you and Bill, and you and I had kind of talked occasionally on Hangouts on things we'd like to see, and even as of last year, we were start talking about what we wanted to see for the next year. And to me, two big areas. Starting first with Android TV, I'd like to see it work, but it feels like Google TV all over again. Mm-hmm. We're just not. They come up with this idea and it's like squirrel. They put it out there and then there's nothing. And I mean, even if it was going to be, hey, look, we're moving away from a dedicated device to a beefed up Chromecast. Give us something.
Yeah, that seems like a logical progression, is to give us a more powerful Chromecast and add controller support and stuff like that. We're not that far away, I would imagine, from that. And so I'm kind of just holding on. I mean, I have 5 Chromecasts in my house right now.
Oh.
And I use the hell out of them everywhere I go. And I find myself specifically watching more YouTube content as a result. YouTube specifically, because I can find so much more content that I like that wouldn't be on regular TV. So that's kind of helped with my adoption of YouTube. But eventually Chromecast or some form of Chromecast will be a much more robust solution, I think. And I think Android TV, as we see it today, is going to kind of merge into that.
I mean, I think the only way I can see them keeping a bigger box, kind of going the Amazon Fire TV versus Fire Stick type approach, is if they work out some kind of deal where it can basically serve as like a expanded cable box. I think that'd be the only way you could justify it, because then instead of having an extra cable box, kind of like what Verizon did with their Fios and stuff, where you can use the Xbox, have it serve in some function like that. Absent that, there's no reason to put all that into something like that if you can just do a smaller footprint of a beefed up Chromecast.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And then I think the other area for me that I was kind of disappointed we didn't get more of is Android Auto. I mean, we're just getting bits and pieces. This is an area where I really would like to see some development, especially after we hear about Project Brillo, about connecting the home. How about connecting to your car and having more functionality, working with manufacturers for vehicles, coming up with more units so that instead of using built-in navigation, hey, it'll project your Google Maps app using your data on your phone onto your unit, your double DIN unit. I mean, things like that. That's the areas I really would like to see some development from Android.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck right now because my cars, a couple of them have screens, but they only accept composite input. So any output from my phone or tablet isn't going to really do me much good, and you can't use it while you're driving anyway. Mm-hmm. So the cars kind of have to catch up with the technology and just give us a dumb screen that can mirror whatever's on our phone, and let me be the responsible adult to use it appropriately. I saw that Chevrolet and Cadillac are going to be kind of adopting Android Auto, I think mid-2016. So maybe at some point in the future I'll be able to get my hands on it. But for right now, my 6-inch screen is going to have to serve as my nav in the car because I can't connect it in any other way.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the one I've been looking at, because I'm probably going to add it to my F-150, is Pioneers, the one they came out with this past spring. That it's all touchscreen. I mean, it uses its own dedicated navigation app, but it fully supports both Android Auto and Apple. So to me, that's what I like about it, because it doesn't matter what you have at the moment or if someone else is riding in your vehicle. And to me, that would help resale value. Is it doesn't matter what their phone is, they can, if you want to leave it in your vehicle when you sell it, it instantly has better resale value because it's more compatible.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of leaving that, do you guys have any final thoughts and things from Google I/O, things you'd like to see next year type things?
I mean, I don't think I left disappointed. I think it was kind of what I expected, which was solid iteration, but not necessarily something that was going to be like blow my mind. The Google Now on Tap kind of blew my mind. All the other stuff is kind of iterations on what they were doing already, and that's fine. I mean, I don't think we're at the point where Google has to make some massive Hail Mary thing to try and win market share. I mean, we're already there. They're getting plenty of market share. I think it's just now they need to go ahead and refine, and that's one of the exciting things they keep doing is working on design and working on battery life and the blocking and tackling kind of stuff that really is necessary for them to be successful.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, I agree with you, Bill. I wasn't necessarily disappointed because even the things that I think weren't like full blown, they at least give you some hope that if they actually pursue it, it'll be great. One other thing I just thought of that we didn't get that I would have liked to have seen at least something to show that it still is surviving is Google Glass. Because I mean, they went so out on that, and so I would have liked to at least see something that it has some life in it, that it wasn't deader than Jon Snow.
I think I don't think Google Glass is dead. I just think it'll be a while before we hear from it. I think what they'll end up doing is trying to make it some type of competitor for maybe like the Microsoft HoloLens.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Todd. Microsoft and the other players in the market that are doing VR kind of not really came out of nowhere, but it's just really blown up in the last year and a half. And I think Google finally saw that and said, hey, let's kind of shift and not just focus on notifications, but what if we can do, VR with all the other stuff? And so that's why we're going to eventually see a redesigned glass that it's probably going to look dorkier than it does now, but maybe there's going to be some technology that allows them to do that in a more elegant way.
yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'd hate to see the idea just kind of get thrown off to the side, because I mean, to me, it has promise. So I guess one last bit of news, kind of a public service announcement. We kind of alluded to it earlier that LastPass was hacked. So if you use LastPass, it's time to change your master password.
Did that yesterday. Even though I used two-factor with it, I still changed it. I think they're prompting everyone to change.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to do it just to be safe, even if you're not one of it.
A lot of people
good practice to do it.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say a lot of people think that just because they have some long password, for their master password, that they're okay. But you should always change that at least once every 6 months or a year or something. Change that master password, regardless.
Yeah.
You're not as clever as you think you are.
That's right.
Soapbox time. If you're not using LastPass or some password manager, you really should. It's to the point where they're easy enough to use. And LastPass recently introduced a feature to go out and change passwords automatically for you. So it'll tell you how old they are, and it'll go out and run a script. It's not the most elegant solution, but it'll go out and change them. You just leave it running in your browser.
And I believe it'll even do security audits on your existing passwords to kind of...
Yes, it definitely does. And I run through that. I think I'm like at 92 or 93%. And part of that is that I have my wife and kids' passwords in there, and they have LastPass. I've made them start using it, but they haven't started using it to generate passwords and stuff like that. I mean, it's so convenient to have that program on my phone. I don't know any of the passwords. They're big, long, random strings, and I don't care at this point. I just know like 2 or 3 passwords that I need to know. The rest of them get generated and stored and periodically changed.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's always good to use a manager of that sort, and it's good that it actually steps out and tells you, hey, you need to go and update your passwords. And I like the idea that they'll help you do it.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, we'll kind of move to our +1, -1 tech picks. Bill, what you got?
This week, I have picked Google Rewards, which is an app. I don't know if it's on iOS. It's on Android. It is an app that Google puts out that allows you to do surveys. And so it's not real sophisticated. You'll get a notification that says, hey, we have a survey. And then you answer a survey, and they give you Google Play credit.
Nice.
And it's really pretty cool because, you randomly, I usually get maybe one a day, one every other day, something like that. And you get between 10 cents and $1 usually. And so over the course of a week, I've amassed, it's not a big sum, but maybe $1, $1.50. So, when I'm going to buy apps in the Play Store, I don't even really think about spending 99 cents on an app anymore because it's not really my money, and it only takes me maybe a minute to go through and answer the questions of the survey. So if you're not taking advantage of that, definitely do. And we have a family account, and then we have I have my own individual account. So I have the family account on my tablet, and I do get some surveys on that, and then I have my own. And so I'll randomly use it for a movie or something. It's very handy.
Cool. So what's you, Todd?
I have got this bad boy right here, the LG G4. I'm on T-Mobile with the line that it's on. I was eligible for Jump, on my Note 4, and I'm like, well, I've already got a Samsung device, so I might as well just check it out. I really love that leather back, and the fact that it does have removable battery and SD card makes it nice. The LG UI, I'm totally in love with it. I mean, it's okay.
How amazing would that device be, like with the Google Play experience, though?
Oh my God, it would be the perfect one.
I would have jumped on that at the beginning if they had that.
I'll probably end up rooting it and putting. I'm sure someone will root it and then get a bootloader unlocked and then go for that. But yeah, it's just really nice. The double tap stuff, you know, a lot of that is carried over from the G3. The camera is absolutely hands down the best camera I've ever used. I believe it's probably marginally better than what's on the S6 and even on the iPhone 6 Plus. Plus, they're doing a lot of offers right now for it. I actually qualified for 2. I get a free battery and a 32 gig micro SD card, and then they had another separate offer. I think it was just maybe a T-Mobile offer with a free 128 gig SD card.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yeah, definitely nice phone.
Be interesting to see how long you hold on to it, though.
Well, I probably for a while. I mean, I had the Note 4 for, you know, however long it was out, so close to a year. I do definitely need to pare down some phones, so.
Well, the beauty of GSM though, it's easy to just pop a SIM in it and you're good.
Yeah. So
Well, for me, my pick, and I was going to show it, but I left it off in my backpack. Gunnar Optics. I used to always kind of laugh when I'd see those things, the yellow lenses. And I was like, oh, that's dorky. There's no way that works. Well, Amazon had a deal. It was like one of the deal of the days about 2 weeks ago, I think. And so I bought a pair, and I brought them to work, started using it, and it was amazing the difference it made as working like through a spreadsheet and things of that sort, that it really did make a difference for eye strain and trying to sit there at the computer. I haven't tried them at all for like video gaming, but to me, I mean, as a use case, if you're stuck during the day, or especially during certain projects where you have to stare at the screen a lot, I found they worked for me. I mean, they may not work for you, but I'd say based on my experience, definitely give them a shot if you haven't done it before.
Cool. I was wondering about those. I find that wearing just polarized sunglasses really helps with my vision during the day and cutting down on glare, and I wondered if those would help in an office setting. That's good to hear.
I mean, they worked for me. I have one of my secretaries. She uses glasses, and she tried them, and she was like, I don't even know if I need my reading glasses when I'm doing this. She goes, it really really worked for her too, staring at her screen.
Yeah, I've got some readers, and they've got a coating on it that's supposed to help with screen glare and stuff. But you know, I really don't need to wear them unless I'm like really, you know, got something stuck up in my face. So something like that might be the ticket I need to help with some eye strain.
Cool. Well, I guess we'll let everyone know how you can reach us when we're not obviously on the show. Bill, why don't you go ahead and let everybody know how they can reach you?
I'm on Twitter at Bill Stebbins, and so you can find me there. I don't tweet as much as I used to. I still read every day, but I've grown tired of arguing with people about mobile operating systems and kind of moved on to arguing with people about cars. So if you like car stuff or technology stuff, hit me up on the Twitter.
Just wait. In 10 years, your car will have a mobile operating system.
Yeah, no kidding.
So what about you, Todd?
You can reach me at Todd W on Twitter, where I'm usually arguing with somebody about something.
And telling them it's trash, or was it garbage?
Garbage.
You can find me on Twitter, handle LSU Law 2009. You can find me, obviously, on our show here at the Android Experience, as well as the Tech Talk podcast here on the Tech Side Network. So with that, I'll leave it to you, Todd, on the Playmaker Challenge.
So on the Playmaker Challenge this week, looks like we, of course I wasn't on the last show, but it looks like we carried over for the PBA Challenge. Nothing really changed. I'm still kicking ass, and Clay's in last place. So no shockers there. Instead of picking a game for this week, what I think I'm going to do is let everybody use the Playmaker Challenge hashtag on Twitter. Just tweet at the AXP Podcast Twitter account and use the Playmaker Challenge hashtag and suggest a game that you would like to see on here. We're totally open. I'm sure that I'll be beating everybody as usual. So,
yeah, I mean, you are a resident gaming person.
Well, for mobile gaming, I kind of like it. So, I don't know if I'm really that good or y'all just suck. So, I'd love to see a viewer out there, listener, to just put me in my place. So, come on, give it your best shot.
So with that, kind of in closing, we'll let you know, please subscribe to our show in iTunes and take the time to leave us a review and comment. Leave us a comment on Twitter at AXP Podcast. Check out our website at AndroidXperience.com. And also be sure to check out all of our other great podcast blogs and photo galleries on the TechSide website. We thank you all for listening. And a big thank you to Bill for coming out and being a guest. Absolutely. You're always obviously welcome anytime you'd like. And with that, we'll give you guys a goodbye, and we'll see you soon.
Adios.
Laters.